So welcome to this new edition of the networking channel. As usual, we are just waiting for the participant to join, but I would like to remind you that this program is being recorded, so you will be able to see it on our YouTube channel. We also are providing the slides. They will be posted on the website. If you would like to ask questions, of course, you are most welcome to use the Q&A that is provided by Zoom. And we will provide all the information about the YouTube channel, the website, as well as the Slack channel that you can join in case you would like to ask questions after the event has ended on the chat that is provided by Zoom. Okay, so this being said, I'm very happy that we can have a conversation today related to O-RAN. O-RAN is becoming very popular. Overall, the value of O-RAN is in its ability to create a more open, competitive, and flexible telecommunication market. We believe that this is related to the fact that O-RAN is meant to promote interoperability, to increase network flexibility, and to drive innovation. But what about the next generation research group of O-RAN? Maybe you have heard about this NGRG, another acronym. Is it a collaborative effort between the O-RAN Alliance and the academic and research institutions to identify and study new technologies and architectures that can enhance O-RAN capabilities? So this is basically the topic of today, and I'm very happy that we have the excellent panel of today that is going to be orchestrated by Manu. So straight, I will hand over to Manu, who will introduce the panel and present the participant.
Perfect. Thank you, Serge. So good morning, afternoon, evening. Thank you for joining this virtual forum. So without further ado, I'd like to start by introducing our esteemed panelists. I'll start with Dr. Chen, who's a principal scientist at VTT Finland and is the co-chair of the Next Generation Research Group in the O-RAN Alliance. He has a very distinguished career, and he's published more than about 80 scientific publications. And interestingly enough, back in 2015 was one of the first EU projects that proposed the concept of the RAN intelligent controller. So I'm jumping the gun here, but once we talk about the O-RAN architecture, you'll understand why that's a key differentiating principle that's been introduced in the O-RAN architecture. And he's also serving as the technical editor of the IEEE Wireless Comms magazine and the Transactions of Cognitive Communications and Networks. Next up, Dr. Havish Koorapaty from Ericsson. So Havish has been with Ericsson for 25 years. He's worked in the general area of wireless communication systems, including cellular and satellite systems. For all the students out there, he's a great resource and an asset who served in the standardization bodies in 3GPP, TIA, IEEE, and ETSI, and has also served as the rapporteur and the vice president for 3GPP RAN 1 from November 2017 to 2021. Currently, he's looking ahead. He's working on 60 systems and serves as the technical coordinator for Ericsson's contributions to a variety of consortia and alliances, including the ADIS NextG Alliance, as well as he's also a co-chair of the O-RAN Next Generation Research Group. And I'm Abhimanyu Gosain. I've been here before, one of the co-organizers here with Serge Fdida, Stavrula, Dr. Jim Carosi, and Dr. Matt Cesar. So would like you to welcome, and then we'll kick off the panel. Serge, would you mind going to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Okay, so before I pass it on to Havish and Tao, this is sort of the first question that all of you are going to be asking, and those of you who are working in this in this field have maybe some basic concept of understanding. So apologies here, I should have credited the source to Ericsson. So this is a slide that comes from Ericsson, where it very nicely is trying to depict and define the different definitions of an open radio access network architecture. Today, just to focus your attention, we'll be talking about the middle top O-RAN, which is going to refer to the O-RAN Alliance architecture. And the key takeaway from this slide is that the two concepts at the bottom, the vRAN concept and the Cloud RAN concept, are not too disparate from what you see above the line. So Open RAN, ORAN, and Open-RAN are technologies that basically are built on top of the concepts of virtualized RAN and Cloud RAN as well. And I don't want to read the slide. I'll leave that up to your interpretation. But the idea here is that there are different variants, there are different definitions, there are different frames of references, but that's pretty much the level setting approach I wanted to kick things off with. So Serge, next slide. The other thing I wanted to make sure that people sort of understand is there has been this paradigm shift from the early 5 days from traditional black box, vertically integrated end-to-end systems that were monolithic to this open programmable, virtualized, disaggregated mode. Again, this is not, I'm going to leave the details of the architecture to the experts here, but ideally, again, the key takeaway from this slide is you now have the ability to mix and match multiple different open subsystems, widgets, or modules, as you'd want to call them, through open interfaces that have been defined by standardization bodies, as well as specification bodies like alliances, such as the ORAN Alliance. And what that actually enables for you, if you're an academia or a research lab or an industrial partner, you now have the ability to really leverage the power of software and softwareization to instantiate these boxes on a computer or on the cloud for yourself. So the virtualization layer, the ability to stand this infrastructure or very complex end-to-end 5G systems on a bare metal server in a turnkey fashion, and now have the ability to tune parameters in a softwareized fashion, leveraging these open interfaces and the open data that is enabled and analytics that's enabled by this architecture is causing this paradigm shift, and that's going to continue into the future generations of communication networks. Next slide, please. So this just is a pictorial representation for those who are sort of working in this community. I just wanted to pinpoint that there are multiple different efforts beyond just the ORAN Alliance effort that are essentially allowing us to realize an end-to-end virtualized, programmable 5G and beyond architecture. So these are just kind of some acronyms and names that are out there. I think the key takeaway from this slide is you now have the ability to mix and match different software stacks from different participants, but now you also probably realize the amount of effort that it takes to get things working end-to-end. This is now no longer just so it's not just a single stack, it's not just a single vendor, but now you have a crop of different software projects that you really need to get together. And is this possible even for a single individual researcher, or let alone an entire research group? I leave that question up to you and would be happy to sort of have a discussion and debate around it. So are we actually adding more complexity, or are we sort of pushing the envelope in terms of programmability, which is going to allow things to be done in a more automated AI/ML enabled fashion? Next slide. So here I just wanted to sort of bring it back to standardization for a second. The key takeaway here again is 3GPP, the third generation partnership project, which is essentially the standard defining, standard developments organization, which is where all the different industry partners, vendors, operators, chipset manufacturers, vertical use case providers, they all coalesce and converge. That is the main key body, which is developing standards. It's developing, and again, getting a little bit down into the details, it's developing for a radio access network system, the key signaling mechanism, the control plane, user plane messages, as well as some of the key interfaces that you're going to see brought up, even in the context of the ORAN architecture. The other thing on the right side I wanted to sort of also acknowledge is the functional splits, which is basically the key building block of the disaggregated radio access network that we're going to talk about today. Has multiple different functional split options. So our ORAN Alliance, as some of you may be aware, is leveraging the ORAN, is leveraging the 3GPP defined 7.2 X, and X also subdivides it further into ABC options. And then on the right side, the Small Cell Forum is developing an option 6 split. Why are these splits? Again, that's primarily based on the deployment paradigm, both from an operator perspective, but also from where you want the intelligence and where you want to reduce the complexity of the network. But again, key takeaway here is 3GPP is still the de facto standards organization that's going to define and continue to define standards for the future generations. Some of these functional splits and enhancements to the architectures and specifications that are being developed, there are mechanisms in play, and I hope Tao and Havish are going to sort of talk about how this is all converging together now as these specifications are developed, matured, and how they may be introduced into the standard development process as well. Next slide, please. Okay, just a little deeper into the technical details, not want to spend much time. This is sort of just heavily borrowed from the 3GPP realm. But again, this sort of pictorially represents where the complexity lies in the option 7 versus the option 6 split with respect to the FIMAC interface and where some of the functionality of the radio access network is developed in the CU, DU, or in the RU. The other thing on the right side is some of the front haul interface, which is sort of a key metric and a key interface that defines how the radio units and the distributed unit are able to interact each other and how they're able to pass the control signaling, user plane, and management plane messages. And if you have an option 7 kind of a split, you do have a very strict latency round trip metric that you have to monitor, as well as it also adds to the large amount of bit rate that you have to carry on the front haul interface. Next slide, please. So yeah, just sort of zooming out a little bit beyond just the ORAN construct, wanted to also signal or let the audience know that the 3GPP behemoth is sort of moving along. So, you know, what you're going to hear today obviously feeds into the 3GPP standard setting process, but today officially release 17 has been completed as of September 2022, and the release 18 study items are being sort of worked on, and maybe, and Havish can correct me, have even maybe even been voted on in terms of ratifying what are the study items that are going to be looked at, and those details are obviously all publicly available. So there are major enhancements that are being considered in release 18, but as the journey from 5G to 6G moves forward, you really do want to monitor and look at what are the study items. If you're a researcher, what are the cool research ideas that are being discussed, debated as the standardization process moves on. The in the box is something that I just wanted to mention. You know, we're talking here about standards, new architectures, but realistically, in terms of deployments and the handsets you may have available in the US and Europe, and now hopefully soon in Asia and Africa, are based on a much older release cycle. So there's about approximately a 24-month gap, and I guess this number a little bit is skewed towards the US operator ecosystem. I think in some other countries and continents, things may be a little bit more cautious or more slow in moving. But right now, at least in the US, Release 15 is the de facto deployment of the 5G architecture out in the operator ecosystem, and now slowly features from Release 16 are being introduced by the vendor ecosystem into the mobile network operator ecosystem. So that being said, I think, Serge, that might be the last one, if I'm not mistaken. Perfect. So at this point, I'd like to pass it over to Dr. Chen and Dr. Koorapaty to share their slides and share their thoughts on what's new and exciting in the NGRG group. So with that, I'll pass it over to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Manu. So it's very happy to be here and to share this our NGRG group and this information. And also we have mission that to call for participations and for all the research and from research communities. Okay, so we have this overview slides, and I will present the first part, and Havish will do the second part. So you know ORAN lines, and you know they produce specifications, right, for the ORAN. And now situation changed, and since now 6G is coming, so we have this very special position that to establish this research group and to have ORAN Alliance to involve this ORAN from the previous generation to the 6G. So this initiative we prepared and about 1.5 years ago, and from last year in June, and this research group was officially established. So we have run almost 10 months from now on, and a lot of activities are ongoing. But first, I'd like to share some basic information about our mission and also and how work organized inside the NGRG, and also how research topics has been selected. So I hope you get some basic information from here. And it's first to see what we are focused on. So this okay. So basically, this initiative is to establish a place, a forum to facilitate the ORAN research, right? To involve the industry and also academia. So in ORAN, we have members involved industry, companies, and also the academic. But we want to go beyond that. We want to welcome all the academic partners to also involve into this research and to involve in activities and like contribute to our research activity and also white paper and also research report. So we have this procedure to open it to all the research communities, and then with this group, and also we're trying to combine industry and academic effort and to really research support the ORAN research on 6G. So we have already identified and many topics that are quite important for the ORAN for the next generation, and also many activities are ongoing, and we're going to have the outcome as a white paper research report come very soon. So I'll introduce this later. So one important mission, of course, for this group is to keep this ORAN sustainability. That means how to evolve the ORAN from 4G, 5G now and to 6G. And in this evolution, and also we want to this group be a place that can synchronize also the technical paths and discussion with other standard body and the research community. So in this case, we provide a solution that has kind of compatibilities and with other standard bodies. So it's very important to have a compatible and a single 6G standard for the future. Okay, so for this, we have this operation mode in the group, and we trying to define the research agenda and also the key priorities and in the group. And currently we identified 5 research directions I will present it later. It's cover the very important topic that's in the ORAN research. And then based on that we establish these 5 directions as a research stream, and then we for each research stream it's just like a small group, and with the companies and academics, and do the research also on different topic. And inside the research stream we establish the research item. So research item is a target for a specific outcome for this research topic. Okay, so currently we have already 7 research items ongoing that cover different topics. And also we trying to also organize this regular discussions. So we have these weekly meetings, and also for research streams also we have these bi-weekly meetings, and to discuss the progress, and also to promote this outcome as progress, this white paper and also this research report. And so for the outcome, as we mentioned, that's the main outcome is the white paper and the research report. So we are working on that, and the first round of the research report we expect will come in June this year. And also, since this ORAN is defined the specification that for the ORAN and for the outcome for this research group, and we want to provide recommendations and to also to provide input to the working groups and in the ORAN to define their specification for the next generation. And also we also sponsor these workshops and seminars and also submit. And we already have 2 workshops in the past, and all the information from the workshop and the record and available in the ORAN website, and you can check it. Okay, so we have this roadmap in mind that we in the first 2 years. So we are more focused on the research part. So since the 6G stand is not started until 2025. So we focus on the this basic research and on the impact, this technical analysis on what technical 6G technology are important and also will have a strong influence for ORAN, and also what is the view from other industry forum and also ITUR and how we can identify the important topic in line with them. And then we had focus for the ORAN architecture work. So this architecture is in the central part of the ORAN work, and for the NGRG also we are focused on ORAN architecture evolution and all the other activities we can link to that architecture. And so in the near term, in these 2 years, we will publish our findings and through white paper and the research report. And also this will be publicly available. And then from 2025, the sixth research will officially kick it off. So in this period, in 2 years since from that year, and then we will try to help and to provide input to our working group and works group. That's to work on the specification this for the 6G standard from our own side, and also we're trying to coordinate that this cooperation on standard with other standard body from this group. After that is for the long term, when the standard is in shape, and then we start to also cooperate with other standard body, and especially we will work on this 6G testbed activities. So that's a step-by-step approach, and currently we are heavily involved in the first step. So for the organization of the NGRGs, you see that we have a technical oversight committee, and this committee has 16 members. That we have operators members and surprise members and also academic members, and that you see on the right side that who is in this technical oversight committee. Try to make a balance between the region and also between different industry. That you see, I have the operators two from US, two from Europe, and two from Asia. And also for the vendors, we have two from telecom vendors, and two from this IT vendors, and two from this data technology vendors. So we try to have a good balance and good influence and from the talk. So and the talk and also when we have the members and currently is from ORAN and has company members and also academic members. So we form the work based on the resource streams. As you see here, we have these 5 ongoing research streams. So I'll give more details on these research streams, and more research streams planned and will come. But currently, since we are less than 1 year old, and we're trying to have our priority on these 5 research streams. Okay. And then when we define this research stream, we take a landscape of this research topics that are relevant to ORAN and relevant to also 6G. So we investigate those technology and identify what are important. And here you see the list of the important topics that are relevant to the NGRG. And this includes this use case, and also the important is the standard gap analysis, because we have to identify what are missing between 5G standard and what is needed in the 6G standard. And also architecture is an important topic, and this is a central part of the NGRG work. And then the native AI design and also cross-domain AI design is also a very important topic in NGRG, and we receive a lot of attention here in the NGRG work. And the security, and we're trying to also bring at the beginning this kind of native security into the system. So this also there's the research stream ongoing for that part. And beyond that, we also have some ORAN topics like RIC and core-run convergence and management, and then we have also on the bottom this fundamental technology like softwareization and the cloudification, also share technology, and that all include. And in addition to that, also we think this network mitigation is also important topic, that how to mitigate this network to the overrun or from 5G to 6G, and also how to expose network information and to make a programmability as also an important topic we listed here. So you see that there's so many topics, and we're trying to group the topics based on the research nature, right? And based on that, we have defined 8 research streams. So you see on list from the right side, and currently we work on 5 of them. So 3 of them are defined, but there's not start work yet. So we currently have this research stream 1 to 4 and 8. So that's cover the requirement, architecture, and the native AI, ML, and also security and the research platform. So maybe you are interested to see why the research platform is already in this stage, because we think it's very important that at the beginning that we already start the requirement for the research platform to support this test and validation. Okay, so now let's see the how this research stream are defined. So you see the coverage here, and that we have this research stream on horizontal and the vertical side. That's for the basic requirement, and we when architecture and the management we put in horizontal and the traditional this telecom view, right? This different topic and kind of group like this. So we also provide the basic questions to ask at the beginning. That what is the basic questions for use case requirement for requirement for the requirement part. What is the architecture? And that's the basic questions regarding 6 architecture and in the architectural research stream. And also you can see that there are some topics that cover all the this horizontal topics, right? And so, for instance, security and AML, also cross-domain topics, and all that's in all the areas that for network protocol stack. Right? So we use this kind of design for the research stream, try to cover have full coverage about these different topics that we identified for NGRG. And so that's the setup of the NGRG and also research topic. And I'd like to hand over to Havish for the second part of this presentation.
Yeah, thanks, Tao. So yeah, so to continue on from the information that Tao provided. So on this slide here, we are showing essentially the a timeline with the phased approach that has been taken to start the work in the research streams. So it was decided early on to start activities, in different phases, with RS or research stream 05, 6, and 7 being started at a later time. This partly to prioritize a little bit on some key foundational research streams that will first needed to be that we need to make some progress on, and then based on which then we can look at some other aspects, for example, at cross-domain and so on. But also another consideration here was to ensure that we have we are able to make progress on a few of them first and build a way of working that we can then translate to the other research streams when they start. So in terms of timing, the idea is that these other research streams are supposed to start sometime in the middle of this year. Excuse me, just a second. Turn this off. Yeah. So these research streams are supposed to start around the middle of this year, but we have some level of flexibility here depending on the kind of progress we make on the first part. So then, if we go to the next slide now. Yeah, we say something more about the timeline here for the work. And as you can see from the bottom, this is kind of split into 3 parts. I mean, what has been completed, the work that is largely ongoing, and then future work that will be refined a little bit based on based on what kind of progress and how the situation looks like once the ongoing work is completed. So the NGRG planning, kickoff, and setting up of research streams has pretty much been done. Some research items have been established and more are expected to be started as more ideas come in. Work is currently ongoing on the development of white papers and research reports, and as Tao said earlier, we already have 7 research items ongoing. And it is expected to, so these white papers and research reports are expected to be done, the first set of these are expected to be done around the middle of this year. And updated versions of these white papers were part of the original plan, but their timing again will be adjusted a little bit based on how work progresses, and also on in general, we see that it's good to be a bit flexible and adaptable with plans depending on how the work situation and also how the situation with all the different other fora in the world that are working on 6G. How developments happen in that broader context. So if we go to the next slide here. So this slide is providing a little bit more information on the setup of the currently ongoing research streams. So, and also it provides some more information on how these research streams are being led. So each of these research streams has up to 4 co-leaders who are driving the work. The company affiliations of those are provided here. The slide also shows a little bit more detailed explanation of the work to be done in these research streams. So research stream 1, which we also refer to as RSO1 commonly, it focuses on requirements and discusses 6G use cases and standards gap analysis. Aspects such as disaggregation and radio interface controller evolution are primarily handled in RSO2, focusing on architecture aspects. The third research stream then focuses on AI aspects, including native and cross-domain AI, while security aspects are expected to be prominent, which are expected to be prominent for 6G, are in the purview of research stream 04. And finally, the last one that is ongoing at the moment, RSO8, focuses on what we call research platforms, which is in essence testbeds and proof of concepts that can be used to assist in all of the research work in providing validation of the concepts that are being explored. So that maybe we can go to the final slide that we have here. So in actually, Tao, sorry, if you go back to the previous slide. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we can go to the last slide. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So if you go to the, on this, in summary, what we have is that the NGRG in less than a year of operation has a slate of about 7 research items spread across 5 research streams that have started. The first wave of white papers and research reports is expected in the middle of this year, as we said. It has also made efforts in exchanging information with other forums working on 6G, such as the NextG Alliance in the US, 6GIA in Europe, IEEE Future Network Initiative, etc., and other fora worldwide. And it is interested in furthering partnerships with interested organizations where possible. So this overall effort is strengthened also through events that ORAN Alliance and GRG has participated in and also organized themselves. The 2 main events that were organized by the NGRG were the 2 workshops held in conjunction with face-to-face meetings. The first one was in October and in conjunction with the face-to-face meeting in Madrid. And this was more focused with on a broad level of participation from academia. And the second one was last month in Prague, also in conjunction with the face-to-face meeting there, the ORAN Alliance face-to-face meeting. And in this instance, we invited more speakers from 6G industry associations worldwide. We did have academic participation as well, but the goal here was to also get the industry view. And from this point of view, we had participation from China and Europe and various other parts of the world. So in addition, NGRG has also organized special sessions, such as the one that was organized as part of the Open RAN Summit in Madrid last October, and also regularly invite speakers from industry and academia to present at its weekly technical oversight committee meetings. So in this sense, our goal is to not only explore and work on research topics that are of prime relevance to the ORAN architecture and the evolution of the ORAN architecture in the 6G context, but we are also very much interested in forming connections with other work that is happening worldwide, and in connecting with industry and academia, so that the ORAN Alliance and GRG can play a constructive part in conjunction with all of this other work that is going on, and contribute and and be part of the broader 6G effort that is being carried out worldwide. So I can stop there, and maybe we can spend the rest of the time on any questions that people may have.
Thanks, Tao. Thanks, Havish. So yeah, the floor is open. If you wanted to type in your question and answer, or just wanted to raise your hand, please do. And Serge, please.
Yeah, just to start, very interesting indeed. Yet another group that is meant to develop joint activities between academia and industry. I didn't see an O in front of N, R, and G. So how open is it? Basically, how to? I am an academic. I would like to to participate to some of the activities. Can you just give us some hints about how you can do that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, so currently NGRG member is from ORAN Alliance membership. But we have already planned at the beginning that we will welcome all the academic partners to join this NGRG activities to involve in different research streams. So we are in the process to make it happen, because this process you need to have the agreement and between the this ORAN and also the participant, and we have the first agreement almost ready, and I think before the summertime we should have everything ready, and then we can welcome the first wave of the academic partner to join. So that's the plan from our side.
So for the moment, it means that unless I am associated with a partner of ORAN, a member of ORAN, I cannot participate actively. I can just follow the work through, I guess, the website, some white papers and so on. I have to wait for this agreement to be made available.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, because there's some issues regarding APIs and confidentialities, and it had to be set down. So let's take some time. But we hope we finish all the process as soon as possible, so we can have the members join.
Maybe I can add that. So, I mean, definitely a goal is to broaden the participation as much as possible. And also I would add that we are actually quite a young group right now. We actually were formally only launched in June of last year. So, some of these logistical things are still in the works, especially when it comes to, ORAN Alliance, as you know, being, an organization that develops specifications and so on, has been, so this kind of next generation research aspect is very, very new to the ORAN Alliance. So, which is why right now we are operating under the current framework. But stay tuned, and we hope to release, a framework where we can have much broader participation pretty soon. The last thing I would add is that in the events that we have organized, for example, with workshops, there definitely we have not had this kind of restriction. So both in terms of the audience as well as the panelists and speakers and participants, we have not had any problems in reaching out much beyond the ORAN Alliance membership.
Thank you.
So just following on Serge's question, I think there's a question in the chat around pointers for NGRG in terms of wiki, email lists, documentation, I guess. So is that predicated on being an ORAN Alliance member? And some organizations may already be, but even if it is restricted via login, would it be possible to sort of provide some pointers and links that people would go through?
So for that part, currently those wiki links and also this document are only for all members because of this confidentiality issues. Yeah, but
There is some overlap with respect to people who are already ORAN Alliance members, but still aren't sure where to find more information on NGRG. So that's why I was curious if, even if it is a firewall or login protected link, if it is possible to either put that in the references of the slide deck or wherever, so we can share it.
Yeah, we can see how to provide that information in the slides deck, so we can share it. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think we can provide that information.
Perfect. So moving on, there's another question around cross-domain AI. So the question is around what does it actually include and what are the main domains from which the data is going to be drawn, and is there work on it already?
For the cross-domain AI, and we have a research item is established to study this cross-domain. So cross-domain here means that the run domain and also collectible domain and also other domain like management domain, and how the AI can interact with each other and influence each other. So there's a work just established, and we plan to have the research report earliest in September this year. So that's the information we have, but as I said, this research work just started, and it takes some time to have a concrete outcome for that.
Okay, I don't see any more open questions. Please do use the raise hand feature if you wanted to ask live.
So I have another question in the meantime, Manu.
Please.
If I may, because I saw that because of my own interest that you plan to have a group dealing with test beds or testing. I'm just curious about what you have behind your, what is your idea about this activity? Because you have already OTIC, which is meant to support the interoperability testing. So how do you see the value of this test bed that you have been mentioning in your slide?
I think the OTICs right now are basically geared towards testing features that are part of the ORAN Alliance published specifications and also the broader system of specifications, right? The 3GPP specs and so on. So whereas here the concept with the research platform here is that the idea is to provide a framework for doing a test bed or a proof of concept, some kind of platform where it can be much more experimental. It can be used to explore ideas that are being proposed in these other research streams, in order to, so let's say there are ideas that, we can, that we can understand the idea, we can kind of conceptualize it, but how well, but we can also close the loop by testing how well it actually works on a research platform. We can kind of then also hone the, the aspects of it and the formulation of it even more. So it's kind of like to provide that closed loop and in a much more exploratory way and not necessarily tied essentially only to what's in the specifications. Because basically the NGRG, our charter is not to develop any specifications as Tao kind of, said in the early part of the presentation, right? So we are more focused on research aspects and we are more focused looking forward. But even within that context, research platforms can play a role in getting better, in getting better formulations of the key ideas that it can then recommend that the ORAN Alliance working group should maybe take on as part of the architecture evolution at a later stage.
But how do you see this being somehow defined and operated? You expect this to be under the umbrella of the NRNG, or do you expect to have this being delegated to some other organizations or entities?
So right now, I think the entities or the companies that are kind of participating in this RSO8, right? So they are the prime ones that are looking at all of these aspects. Having said that, we are, as we pointed out in the presentation as well, we are generally interested in collaborating, as broadly as possible. So in that context, collaborations with, research platforms, that might not necessarily only be discussed or being worked on in this research stream is also a possibility. But I think, as I said earlier, considering that we are still quite young in organization, I think a lot of these possibilities are still under discussion and being explored.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also we trying to also cooperate with research partners who provide this research infrastructure, open source and infrastructure, or open their platform to other parties and to involve, and we define the requirement, and even we can support them for the development. So we are now working on that to try to support those research organizations and to provide the open platform that maybe also will be available for the all research community. So let's wait for our announcement for that part.
Okay, couple more questions on the chat. One is around, and I'm just going to presume that the questions being asked by somebody who may already be part of the ORAN Alliance. So presume that for a second, and the questions around how to get involved in RS02 and RS03 as an individual or industry contributor. So if you are an ORAN Alliance member already, how do you actually then get into the research streams?
That's very simple, since it's open for every ORAN member. So you just go to the mailing list to join, and we have these regular meetings, and you participate in those meetings because we have this general meetings every week and on Tuesday, and also we have for different research stream we have bi-weekly meeting. So it's scheduled in different time of the week, but you can find all the information in the ORAN wiki page, and so it's under the TSC portal. So you can find the HRG.
Would you mind just if, as part of the glossary or reference, if just we could have some links, given that they are going to be, firewall protected or login restricted. So if the questions are being asked by people who are already ORAN Alliance members, they're able to navigate that if possible. Thank you.
Good. We will provide that information later.
Thank you. And then the next one, I think, sort of touches on what Serge had asked, which was, are you planning to build a reference NGRG research platform based on open source, or mostly discuss requirements and provide recommendations? I think you sort of answered that already, but anything else to add with respect to actually building it versus doing a requirements and gap analysis?
We don't have the plan to build it inside the NGRG group, because we are a research group, and we're trying to bring the players together at companies and partner together to discuss the requirement and what is needed and what kind of future research platform should be, and to test the 6G ideas. And then we will cooperate with those research organizations, and from that channel we try to build the platform. And also, since ORAN has this software committee, right? It's also the place that we trying to also cooperate with them, and to see these kind of features can be available also from the software component.
Got it. Thank you. Last call for questions. So I don't see any more coming in. I think Serge or Stavrula, I'll pass it back to you. Thank the speakers and the panelists again, virtual applause, and then pass it on to you, Serge, to talk about what's coming up next for the networking channel. Thank you again for your time and attention for today's panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, if I can get back the screen.
Oh, yes.
Just to make the announcement. So excellent. And again, thanks a lot for this very fruitful and informative presentation about this new development within ORAN. And again, all information, the slides will be made available on our website. So we hope that this will also bring more focus toward this group and the development of this group as an open forum, as you have stressed in your presentation. So we have been discussing innovation that is planned to be carried out by ORAN. Next networking channel program, as you know, same time in 2 weeks, so 5 p.m. CET, is going to talk about entrepreneurship and startups that have been developed through academia. As you know, in the networking channel, we enjoy to discuss deep research problems as well as topics related to innovation, inclusion, education, and this next event will be discussing network entrepreneurship and startups. And as you can see, we have a prestigious set of panelists, Rizang, Dina Katabi, Anne-Marie Kermarek, and Guilherme Sanches. And the organizers are Christophe and Edmundo. So please join us in 2 weeks from now. Just go to the networking channel website, subscribe to the event, and we'll be very pleased to see you in 2 weeks. So again, Manu, Havish, Tao, thanks a lot for your contribution to the channel, and we wish you a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, folks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.